Welcome friends to the 2022 Toyota 4Runner. This is the SR5 premium trim level with the XP package. I've been testing this out for about a week now and I have really been enjoying myself in this 4Runner because this is the XP. It looks like a proper unit rolling down the road. It has like that tank-like quality, if you will. I'll talk more about that throughout the review. But first, let's talk about what's new for the 2022/23 model years. And then I will also talk about what this XP model is all about. Okay, for 2022, they introduced the TRD Sport model, which was, before it was only available on the Tacomas, but then they introduced it for the 4Runners, and that's supposed to be the, best handling version of the 4Runner, if you will, the sportiest model with adaptive dampers, and you also got leather-esque materials for the seats with the TRD Sport. For the 2023 model years, they have introduced a 40th anniversary model. Along with that, they have made the blind spot monitoring as well as the rear cross traffic alert as standard for all of the 4Runners in 23. If you can get your hands on a special Toyota product like that, such as the 40th anniversary, a TRD Pro, etc., I would say go for it, because these special Toyotas, they do tend to hold their value very well. They seem to be very desirable in the used market. So if you can snatch one at MSRP or, ideally under MSRP, that would be nice. But if you are in love with the 4Runner and you're having a hard time getting a good deal, I did partner up with a broker named AutoCompanion. He is in Washington, D.C., and he's offering 10% off MSRP on the Lexus GX460, the 2023 model. So I know it's not a 4Runner. He doesn't work with Toyota, but he does work with Lexus. And if you love this type of vehicle, but you can't get a good deal, getting 10% off on a GX460 that costs $63,000, you're pretty much getting it for around $57K. If you were going to buy a top trim level 4Runner anyway in the $50K range, that is just something to consider. I'll talk more about AutoCompanion later in the video. But for right now, I want to cover what is the XP model. The XP is one of those special kind of models that is specific to certain regions. So this is available in places like North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and a few other southern states. And what the XP does is it gives you the look of a TRD product. So we have here the 17-inch matte black wheels with the all-terrain tires. You also get some black badging, and you also get a new TRD-esque front grille. So it looks like a TRD product, but it does not have the TRD suspension. It doesn't have the Bilsteins from the off-road model, and it does not have the Fox shocks from the TRD Pro. It just looks like a TRD, but without the suspension upgrades. Overall, the looks of this, it is pretty clutch. This is how I would want a 4Runner for myself. I gotta have it decked out like this with the big chunky wheels and the tires. The overall shape of the 4Runner is pretty good in general, but I would prefer to not have like a regular 4Runner with regular wheels and tires. This just looks so much more proper and really adds to the experience, if I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people are taking notice to this particular model when I'm driving around in it. This, dark metallic blue color with all the black accents. This is pretty sharp. And being the SR5 premium model, we do have a nicer interior space, which I will of course cover in the interior segment. But for right now, let's go ahead and let's transition over into this driving segment now. We have here the indestructible 4-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine pushing out 270 horsepower and 278 pounds-feet of torque. It's all mated to a 5-speed automatic transmission. And honestly, the engine is one of the biggest pros, and it's also one of the biggest cons with this 4Runner. And I'm sure many people already know this by now, but yes, this engine, it does run like a cockroach. No matter how many times you try to spray it, it just keeps running. It just keeps going. That's not all. I also really like the character of this engine as well. That's something that, you know, these vehicles, they don't get enough credit for. I mean, when you floor it in this, it almost sounds like it's supercharged. Like, I don't know how they managed to do that. I think it's some type of transmission whine, maybe. Whatever it is, it's amazing. I love listening to this, and this is obviously going away in the future. I don't know if it's going to be in 2024 or another model year, but this is not going to last for much longer. And if you want to take advantage of it, this is kind of the time to do so, because we're in the later model years of the 4Runner. You're getting one of the more ironed out, more perfected versions of the 4Runner, since this is so deep into its life cycle, right? One of the last model years. So the vehicle just oozes charisma and character, but there's two things to note here. When you're trying to drive this car more mellow and more casually, like, you know, you have your, let's say you have your parents in here or your grandparents, and you're trying to drive this smooth, you're trying to drive this kind of half throttle, if you will, right? This car feels pretty gutless when you try to drive it half throttle. It is so slow when you drive it like this. That's 50 miles an hour right there. Okay, that took like 10 seconds, or it seems like it. You really have to do this to get up to speed. And that's not, you know, when you're chauffeuring people around, that's just not nice. You don't want to hear or experience that. Now, fortunately, this does handle better than people would give it credit for, okay? When you're taking your everyday left-hand, right-hand turns, okay, nobody's flipping over onto themselves, it does a pretty good job in feeling planted. Even the high-speed stability is not terrible. You just need to correct for the steering a little bit, but other than that, the daily drivability, the everyday handling characteristics is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's just when you try to drive it casually, this engine does kind of let you down a little bit. And it's fun to, you know, floor it like this and hear the engine get up to speed. That's fine, but now you're literally getting Hellcat levels of fuel economy, and that's one of the things people don't like about these types of Toyota products, right? Sure, they're durable. When you try to drive it in a manner that is enjoyable and you try to exploit this engine for its power and also for the fun factor of it, you are absolutely killing your fuel economy. You are getting like dump truck levels of fuel economy here. It's rated to get 16 in the city and 19 out on the highway. Fortunately, you can use regular fuel, but you have to drive pretty mellow with this to meet those numbers. And when you do, you will meet the numbers, because I am right here. You know, I am literally getting 16.1 mpg. But that's enough about the engine and the handling. I think we get the point. I am really pleased with the handling. As I said, it's better than what most people would give it credit for. No, this is not a Porsche GT3, nor do I expect that. It's like I said, your everyday handling. You know, I have to really emphasize this. Your everyday drivability is really good. What you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis, it's fine. And most importantly, comfort is also excellent. Okay, the ride quality is great over little bumps, big bumps. That's not a problem. Now, we do have here these massive all-terrain tires, right? These are the Nitto grappler tires, whatever it's called. And as you can see, or as you can hear, you certainly do get a tire hum from these tires. In my 1 week, of course, I got used to it. And really, it's like a white noise, right? It's not a big deal. You get over it. It's part of the character. It's part of the charm. Surprisingly, you hear this noise more when you're doing 50 miles an hour and under on a smoother road. When you're out on the highway doing 75, I kid you not, that the tires actually get quieter. It's like noise canceling, you know? So I noticed that surprisingly, it gets quieter out on the highway. Just something I noted. But anyway, pure refinement is clearly not the reason why you purchase something like this or like a Jeep Wrangler, if you will, right? This is totally tolerable, and it does not take away from the daily drivability or the comfort of this machine. And I mentioned Jeep Wrangler there. This is doing, the same type of job, but better, right? In a crash test, this 4Runner, it's not going to flip over or whatever the Wrangler does in a crash test. It's a total disaster. I feel much happier about putting a family in here. Granted, this is not the safest car in the world either. This doesn't do amazing in a crash test, but it's better than a Wrangler. I know the new Tacoma is coming out, and it's going to be based upon the new platform that the Tundra is sitting upon, and those are much safer vehicles. So I'm sure this next generation 4Runner, it's going to be pretty clutch in terms of safety and all that, but it'll probably use a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, right? Anyway, enough of that. Braking is totally fine in this. I have confidence in the brakes when I'm doing city driving, stop and go traffic. None of that is an issue in this. Confidence is not a problem for me with the 4Runner. And I said the same thing about the Tacoma as well. So if you want to see my TRD Pro Tacoma review, I'll have that linked in the description box and in the pinned comment if you want to watch. But something else that's really adding to the character of this 4Runner and what makes it kind of Jeep-like, it's the seating position. This windshield is sort of flat, and it just, I don't know, you feel like you're operating an old school tank-like product, and it's just cool. Obviously, it's not exactly like a Jeep. It's more refined and it's a little bit more sophisticated than that, but the overall seating position, the way that this particular model is kitted out and the way that it looks, it just makes you feel cool. It makes you feel like you're operating a proper military machine or something along those lines. I like the vibes that this is giving me. And the fact that these things have phenomenal resale value means that you can pile up the miles and you're not losing on a whole lot of money in terms of depreciation. Your fuel bill is just going to be up there. That's all. But there's things you can do to mitigate your fuel bill. Get a Costco membership, something along those lines that can help. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover regarding the drive. Let's go ahead and let's transition over into the interior segment, because compared to the Tacoma, the ergonomics of this 4Runner is significantly better. So let's go ahead and let's talk more in detail regarding that. Okay, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and talk about this interior space. One of the biggest improvements I've noticed over the Tacoma, at least, it's the ergonomics sitting in here, the seating position. I just feel like it's a lot better. For some reason, when I tested the Tacoma, I know this isn't a video about the Tacoma, it's just something that I noticed. The floor space was just higher, and it just sucked if you were a taller individual. This is a lot better, okay? I am 5'11". Getting in and out of this is also easier. Granted, I don't like the side steps in here. This is like the Predator side steps, I believe that's what it's called. It's easier to just not use them and just climb in here. Granted, I'm 5'11". If you're shorter than me, then yeah, you would have to use those side steps. And for those people, if you're shorter like that, this can be a little bit more difficult to get in and out of. But for the most part, this is an improvement over the Tacoma. But if you're insanely tall, 6'5" and over, then you may run into a different issue in regard to visibility out the front and getting the proper seating position, because the steering wheel only goes up so high, and that just could pose a bit of a problem. So this isn't perfect. It's just better than the Tacoma. I just thought I would throw that out there. Anyway, this should work for most people. And being the SR5 premium model, I am liking this quite a bit. We have here the soft tech seats, so gone is the cloth found in the regular base model SR5. We have here this faux leather. The seats are extremely comfortable. They also look good in this kind of beige color. You also get 8-way adjustable front seats for the driver with the lumbar support. The lumbar is excellent. The overall build quality in here is superb, like you would expect with a old school-ish Toyota product. Honestly, the fit and finish in here is better than the 2022 Tundra that I tested. Some of those newer Toyota products, they don't really hold a candle to the build quality of these old school Toyotas, but those newer Toyotas, they look more premium. They give you the illusion of higher quality than these vehicles. A lot of people complain how plasticky everything is and how chunky some of the components are, but that's part of the charm. And also, like I said, the build quality is higher. There is no creaking and rattling in here. Nothing is shaking. This thing, you can literally punch it and nothing's gonna happen, right? I love the dials in here, these big chunky dials that you can use with gloves on. They're simplistic, they're easy to use. I love simplicity like this, and this is what's missing with a lot of modern day products. The infotainment is easy to use. This is an 8-inch screen. It's totally fine. I enjoy it. And because this is the SR5 Premium, one of the upgrades that you get the premium audio system, an upgrade from the base, and on top of this you can get the JBL. All of these audio systems are trash. They are not good. They don't sound great. Even the JBL I tested in the Tacoma was awful. So if you love your music, sadly this is not the best choice, but you know, it is what it is. You have your one-touch automatic windows for all 4 windows. There is no double pane glass, but as I stated before, the refinement isn't terrible. It's just because we have these all-terrain tires, they make a bit more noise. Again, you could go with the more regular model 4Runner with the all-season tires. If you don't mind the way that looks, you can get that, and that would be a quieter, more refined experience than what we have here. You have your simplistic gauges. You have a very large center armrest space. The glove box is also fantastic, but one of the stupid design choices here is you have all of these kind of useless cubby spaces, which I don't know what they were thinking when they designed it like this. I mean, you have this tray here in the middle that can't house a modern day smartphone. You know, you can't put your phone in there. It's just gonna fly out. Same thing with the front console here. You just have 2 trays. Anything you put in there is just gonna fly out, but oh well. You do have heated seats in the front, and everybody's favorite feature is the electronically controlled rear window, which goes up and down, so you can haul longer items and you can fit it in the back and have it hanging out through the back window by putting it down electronically. Very convenient feature. Let's talk about the rear seating space, which is excellent. I have a ton of rear legroom in here, unlike that Tacoma. Again, sorry to keep going back to that vehicle. I was just really disappointed with the ergonomics and the seating space in the Taco. Not so here with the 4Runner. I have plenty of rear legroom. You also have HVAC vents back there, but that's it. And headroom is fine. Seating position is good back there. You can be comfortable. And the trunk is massive, and you also have 3rd row seats in this 4Runner, which is totally useless. And if you never picked up that, you know, rear rubber mat, you probably never would have guessed that this SUV came with a 3rd row seat. Again, I think that's an option. I don't think every 4Runner comes with that. I would rather this not come with 3rd row seats because they're useless and they're just adding more weight, I guess. The spare tire is located underneath the vehicle, but storage, practicality is pretty excellent for the most part. It's a great hauler, and you know, speaking of hauling, this thing can tow 5,000 pounds. That's what this rear-wheel drive model of the 4Runner is rated to tow, according to Toyota, which is pretty abysmal for this body-on-frame product. You can literally buy a new Pathfinder with the tow package that can tow 6,000 pounds. So I would at least like to see 6,500 pounds of towing capability with this 4Runner, but it is what it is. And yes, this is the rear-wheel drive model. Something I forgot to mention. 4-wheel drive is definitely recommended. That can help with your resale value. But let's go ahead and let's conclude now. Okay, concluding thoughts on the 2022/2023 Toyota 4Runner. I am a huge fan of driving this product. It is so much fun. I love the way it looks. It's basically a Wrangler, but better, and it actually works, and it has amazing resale value. Okay, the Wrangler has amazing resale value too, but this is going to legitimately work. You can trust this. It's a trooper. It's going to last the test of time. That's the point, while still having a ton of character. Love the engine. Yes, it's slow. Yes, the 5-speed can be a bit strange at times, but for the most part, I love it. I love the sound. And when you stomp on it, it does get up and go. That's not a problem for most people. The comfort is high. The interior space is solid. I would love to put this product on my driveway. And if you're currently in the market and you've been shopping for this, let us know what your experience has been. Have you been able to negotiate with dealers? Have you been able to get a discount on some of these products? If so, leave it down below, and if you can share what region you're in, that would also be a big help. As I stated before, going with the TRD off-road model would be great. I think that's a good model to get, both in terms of the way that it looks, the features that you get, and also the resale value of a TRD off-road product. You also get the Bilstein shocks, which we don't have that here, and you're not missing out on much. This 4Runner drives great without it. It's not like the previous generation Tundra where it made more of a difference. Here, the handling and the ride quality are great, but if you can get one of those off-road models, that would be ideal. If you are buying a well-equipped model of the 4Runner and it's going to be over $50,000, or the dealerships that you're working with, they're charging over MSRP, you can't get a good deal. I did partner with AutoCompanion. As I mentioned before, he's a broker and he is offering 10% off MSRP on a Lexus GX 460. Not the same vehicle as this, but it's another amazing product that I enjoy driving, that comes with that V8 engine, and when equipped properly, you can get the ML Mark Levinson audio system that blows the doors off of any audio system offered by Toyota. So if that's important to you, and at 10% off, you're literally buying that at around 57 grand for a premium trim level GX 460. If you want to go down that route, you would have to either pick up the vehicle at Washington, D.C. and drive it back, or you can have it shipped, but that's going to cost some money to you. I just wanted to throw that out there. If you love these products, but you're looking for a good deal, the GX is something else to consider. But if you can get a good deal on a 4Runner, that's great too. Hop on that. And, if it's a special edition version of the 4Runner and it's at MSRP, that might not be a bad pick either. It's just, that's the market that we're in right now. If you're shopping for 4Runners and you've already bought one and you happen to get a good deal, share it down below. It can help out other people in the buying market. But hopefully this review was valuable to you. If it was, please consider liking and subscribing. It would help out greatly with the growth of this channel. So I appreciate your support. I'll have my next video on the end screen here. Click on it and I will see you there.